In the last episode of Building Resilience, we were framing a roof over a roof, trussing another roof, and covering them both with zip system structural sheathing. After that, we taped the seams and talked about it.
This is the first time that I've used the zip roof decking, and we're actually pretty excited. We saw that video showing how well it stands up under, hurricane force, winds and rain, just being taped. And I think that adds a degree of confidence for us when we're framing out a flat roof like this. We love EPDM, we love flat roofs and TPO, they work really, really well. But this definitely, being able to be dried in while we work before the roof goes on, it's gonna help us with our timeline. And if there's a failure in the EPDM at some point, the likelihood that we'd see that come right in right away is lower. So I feel like that's like an extra layer of protection that we've got in here now.
This time we're pulling sheets of zip from a different pile, the pile of Zip R12 exterior insulating panels, which we're using to skin over the existing house.
Slide it down.
Working around the penetrations is only one aspect of difficulty posed by this type of retrofit work. The biggest challenge is the window openings, which are currently filled with old windows. Cutting the sheathing properly to fit the replacement
we've definitely gotten better
requires some thought,
this new system,
and also an adjustment to the preferred process.
For previous jobs, we've used a different window where we can just go right over the zip. We don't have to do any of this, the bucking out that we're normally doing. I normally don't like bucks, and so when we came up with this system for bucks that were concealed, it was a question like how well would it work, but we really kind of got it dialed in now. We're almost friction fitting these things in place. We've got 2 beads of foam that we're putting in there, just little belt and suspenders to make sure that we've got a good air seal around those bucks. It's, fenestrations are the weak part of the system, and I'd like to make sure we don't have airflow in and around the windows, that we might get funky condensation around the units. That would be bad. On this wall, we've got the existing house meets new construction. Existing house kind of does a little bit of a twist and a lean, which is pretty typical for balloon frame houses. They tend to have a little bit of pull towards the inside. So where we're perfect at the bottom, we're pretty imperfect at the top. And that's okay. We've got a bit of furring strip in there. We're planing it out. By the time we get about 6 feet into the existing house, we're able to go flush against the sheeting again.
To make up for the out-of-plumb wall, Saul cuts long shims to fur out the transition. And then Michael slowly fills the gap with some cold canned foam, and Saul taps a shim into the gap. He also places another shim about halfway into the next panel, but that's it. The far end can be bent into place so the panels will lay flat against the house, smoothing the transition between old and new. Young Stephen manhandles the panel into place, and Michael nails it off. With flanged windows and thick exterior insulation, you can nail through the flange, through the insulation, and anchor directly into the framing. The Marvin modern casement windows that we're installing are fastened through the jambs, not the flange. And because foam has a really cruddy holding power, the design team needs to figure out a buck system. Here's what they came up with. Surround the window with 2x2s and cut back 1.5 inches of the foam. In animation land, all of the joints are tight, but in the real world, they use beads of canned foam to make sure the joints are tight. The retrofit bucking system begins with cutting away the old window frame and adding enough strips of wood to create backing for the new bucks. It's dusty, messy, and a little bit ugly, but the cuts have to be clean. They're going to be the substrate for the new bucks, and they'll establish the window's position to some extent. Measuring off the floor, they establish where the top of the bottom buck needs to be, and Saul snaps a line. Now, it's the same old carpentry game. Put it on the line and nail it. Or screw it, as the case may be. Same drill up top, put it on the line and screw it. Strips of Advantech subfloor thicken the existing jambs to create solid backing for the window bucks. Saul measures, marks, and cuts them all at the same time because he's an efficient carpenter. He also wants to get the exterior done as soon as possible so he can go inside and work. But that's not really how it's going to shake out for Saul. The bucks need to be placed with a purpose because they determine the window location, and there's very little wiggle room with the inside stops.
And these were measured to fit like really tight to this, because it's that 3/8 stop on the inside to cover it. So yeah, we gotta be as close as we can here.
With the window frame all bucked out, they're ready to add some Zip R12 to the mix. Cold weather has a way of making things move slower. The cans were kept inside and outfitted with custom neoprene koozies to keep them warm, but 10 degrees is 10 degrees any way you look at it. Unless you look at it on a centigrade scale, in which case it's minus 12 degrees. So yeah, still cold.
I'll just pretend it's a slow-mo video.
To make up for it, we pretend we're shooting a slow-mo video, but Steven doesn't cooperate.
I don't know what to tell you.
With the can foam flowing, Saul circles the opening with 2 beads, and I found a solution to the cold can blues: heated gloves from Milwaukee. They slip the Zip R12 panel into place and tap it home.
There it is. There it is. Still got a ways to go.
You can see the foam bead squeezing out a little bit at the top buck. This is good.
Something's holding this panel out down here quite a ways.
Nail it. Michael adds more canned foam to make up for some irregular geometry, and the crew gets after the rest of the house. It's a good thing, too, because a truckload of windows and doors are coming soon from Marvin, and the best place for a window on a job site is installed in the wall. Coincidentally, that, along with Marvin's modern multi-slide door, are what we're going to install next time on Building Resilience.
And you can see over here, this is the new modern multi-slide stacking door from Marvin. And it provides an incredible view of the exterior. And what's really cool about this thing is that the whole thing opens up. So now the door has been compressed, really stacked, so that it's one door width wide, which gives us all of the rest of this opening free and clear. Good place to sit and observe the debris field that is the job site.
Stay tuned and stay resilient.